Okay guys, here we are again with another DIY project. This time what we're doing, and I'll turn the camera around real quick. Well, I want to show you, these are the lights we're going to put up. And we're going to I picked two and you'll see why. We're going to put these lights up over the fireplace, and they're going to be spotlights for the fireplace. And they work by remote control. I'm going to place them up on the ceiling. The ceiling runs at about a, 45-degree angle roughly. I haven't measured that, but I'm going to go up about 4 planks and then center it. So probably right in here and center it, and then I'll run the wire across here. I'll have to drill a hole through the beam for the wire to go through, and then I'm going to run the wire down the back side, over and down, and there's plugs down behind the TV over here. So that is the game plan. And what it does is you have with remote control, you can set the timer. There's the box of stuff here. So here's the timer. So it looks like you can turn it on and off, and then you can run it at 25, 50, or 100% power as far as brightness, and you can set timers on it. Looks like 3 hours, 8 hours, and 12 hours. 3, 6, and 12 hours. So it's kind of neat. You can do that from your seat, so you don't have to get up and turn it on. And what I'm going to have it do is angle down and shine on the rocks there on the mantelpiece. I think that would be pretty, just kind of highlighting the fireplace. And so we'll go ahead and get started. First thing I'm going to do is just try to, there's a bracket that you put on there first, and I'm going to center it. So I'll have to take some measurements and then mark it, and then go ahead and drill it in place. Okay, I've drilled and piloted these holes, and I've got the brace in. And I'll show you there where the brace for the light fixture. The 2 center screws you'll see there just have like little washers on them, and it holds the plate against the roof. And the 2 protruding screws on the outside, that's what your light actually goes onto, and then you have these little finger nuts that you screw them on to hold them on. And so that's the base of it all. It's real simple. There's 2 screws that came with it. They were a little long, and I was concerned because this is my roof, and I don't want to drill all the way through that board and actually puncture the tin roof, and that would be a big problem. So I got some shorter screws that were more tapered, a little easier to drill into this wood. It's a kind of hardwood. And so yeah, shorter screws, they were probably 1 inch long. And by the time they go through the bracket and you put a washer on them, it's probably a little over 1/2 inch into the wood, and I think that was pretty safe to do that. It doesn't require much more bite than that because the light's very, very light in weight and doesn't really have to support a lot of weight. So when you're drilling into things, think about what's on the other side. In this case, it's our roof, and we don't want to drill holes too deep and puncture the tin, and then we have a roof leak. And that would not be good. So that's where we're at on this. We'll continue. Okay, they're not all the way up yet. I just dropped the wire down to plug it in to test it to see how it's looking, make sure it even works. Because, you know, when you get stuff from China, you never know if it's really going to work or not. So I think it looks good. I might need to re-angle the lights a little bit. But that was my first guess at where they might land, the lights, and I think it looks pretty nice. I still want to drill a hole and run the wire, so let me get busy on that. But I just want to kind of stop and take a look and see if we're getting the required result, or, you know, the wanted result. It looks good. I like it. All right, we finished hanging these lights and running the wire down and getting it plugged in, and how do you like it? We turned off the overhead light so that you could really see the accent of the light. And the whole idea of these lights is to accent the fireplace because that stone is so pretty. And the ceiling there, a piece of that. So we've got different things on this remote. Right now it's at 25%. There's 50%. There's 100%. And then you can set it anywhere in between. You can also set it on timers. I kind of like it really low, like 25%, just to accent the bricks, make it look pretty. Anyway, that was a pretty easy job. I had to play around a little bit with the mounting screws. They weren't quite long enough to get the nuts on there. So I had to remove a washer that was put on there from the factory. So a little bit of a hang up there, but it was no big deal. Just had to get those screws to protrude a little bit longer so I could get the nuts on there to hold the light up. So manufacturing defect, I'd say probably another engineering marvel where they didn't put in long enough screws. They needed to be about 1/8 of an inch longer. But we got it to work, and I think it looks really nice. What do you guys think? Let us know there in the chat. Well, good morning, people. We are doing yet another do-it-yourself project here at the Granger's Ranch, or the cabin rather. We are installing a motion sensor light. So if you look right up over your right shoulder there, Therese, you'll see we installed one inside this area, but we have discovered at night that it doesn't cast any light over here. And this is the path that you walk up because there's terrain here you have to walk up. So it's kind of steep. So this is kind of the path up. And all of this has no light. It's all dark until you get over to the house. So we're going to put up a motion light right here. This is one we bought on Marketplace. We met with a gentleman, and I don't remember. You remember what we paid for it? I think it was $30 or $35.
I think it was 30.
Something like that. So we're going to, actually because of the way it's built inside, it's going to have to be about right here. That's where it's going to be mounted. We're going to drill the hole from the inside, and I'll show you what I'm doing inside there to get this prepared to mount. So, if you'll remember, we bought this junction box at what's the place called?
The Habitat for
Habitat
Humanity
for
Restore
I can never remember that name. I don't know why it's so
in
hard.
Murfreesboro.
So Habitat for Humanity. You know, I hear habitat and I think animals. I'm not thinking construction material. But yeah, so we got this for, what was it, $1?
That one was $5.
$5. And it's got a brace on it and it slides, so I can mount this kind of anywhere I want. But I'm looking to put it right here, up in the corner here. Now you have a big header right here. Looks like a 2x12. You have another 2x12 here, and it goes all the way to the ceiling. So I'm not trying to put a hole in here. Plus, it would be very difficult. I really couldn't do it from the inside. I'd have to do it from the outside. And there's no need to weaken this board. It's a header board, so we're going to leave that board in its integrity and just bring the light down to the sheet metal. And then this has a brace on it, so I just stuck this board up there. It wasn't there, built there. I put it there. I cut this down and built it there. Because what I'm doing is I'm trying to frame this up. So when this goes in here, I'll have to push it over. Oh, there we go. So it's going to be right about here. And then I can attach, this board right now is just sitting there, but I'll screw it into the frame. And then I'll screw this into the frame. And the junction box will be right here. And it'll be all framed in, so it's got a nice sturdy mount to it. And then the wiring will come off the back. And I'll run it up through the boards. And I'll probably put it right into this box right here where I have 2 other lights. You can see they're full, so what I'll do is I'll junction it into the box and do a lot like what I did with the fan. The back of these plugs have a place where you can put jumper wires in, so you can put them in with multiple wires. So we're going to hardwire this light in to the back of this box. So we'll have 3 lights on this circuit, and this is a shared circuit with this plug and a 4-way plug back there. But we still don't have a lot of wattage here. This is an LED light. I don't know what it draws, but it's probably under 5 watts. The other light comes on with a motion light at night. It has to be both dark and motion to come on. I believe that's probably about 5 watts, and this is probably about the same. So you're not talking about a lot of power, and we're not overloading the circuit or anything, and that's something you always want to consider when you're doing electrical projects. So I'm going to go ahead and mount this and put some screws in it. And I need to drill this hole, and I do have a hole that size. So that should get us real close to the size we need. And yeah, so we're going to do that. And it's going to make a bunch of noise, so we're just not going to video the noise, but we'll come right back at it, and you'll see all this drilled out and the brace put in, and we'll just go from there. Okay, here's what we got so far. We did some bracing here, and then I cut a 2x4 here and braced that into the framing, so this is good and sturdy. And what will happen now is here's the box that will get placed up there and screwed in and mounted flush. Now it's okay if the hole isn't perfect. I don't really have the right tools to cut it. I ended up using a reciprocating, I don't even know what you call it. I use it to cut sheetrock with, but it had a metal blade on it, so I used it, but it doesn't cut a perfect circle. You really got to struggle to get it to cut a circle. But it's okay, because it's going to get covered up, because the light housing is much larger than this electrical box housing, so we'll be okay. So this will get mounted, and then from the other side, that might stay there, it might not. Okay. So from the other side, we'll mount the back of the light, which looks like this. And so what happens here is the plate will be, this will be here. Underneath that, this metal plate gets mounted inside of that. This gets mounted to the light, and this will get mounted to the housing, so it'll be nice and strong. There's screws for that. And then inside of that, this is a rain shield, so that will go, on the outside of this, like so. And then the wires will pull through the hole and into the box. So that's how that works. This is just a waterproof gasket that's bigger than the housing, bigger than the hole. And this housing here is bigger than that hole up there. So when I'm finished, you won't see all these extra cuts that I made here. It'll cover it. And so that's the next step. So right now what I'm doing is just trying to formulate a plan. I'm doing like a fitment test to make sure that it's gonna, work right, hang right, that it has the bracing it needs, and then the electrical. So yeah, let me check that out. I'll be right back. Okay, we got the electrical box mounted. All I did here was I put it in place, and this can slide up and down the rail. There's 2 screws on the inside of the box that you can reach from the other side to tighten it in position so it can't go left and right. I still have to do that. I thought maybe if I needed an adjustment, I could just tap on this and move it over. But I've screwed it in place. I just put 2 little tiny screws here and 2 tiny screws here, and that holds the box. It's pretty firm, I must say, very firm. So now it's all framed in. So now it's just a matter of installing the light, the base plate, and the gasket on the other side, and then pull the wires through. So we'll go ahead and do that. Okay, we're at the outside box now where the light is actually going to get hung. So here's the base plate, and you run those screws in, and this is what your light's going to hang on. So now you have to, so these screws will be pointed out toward the light because the light will go over them. This has to be screwed onto this plate. And they give you various options here. You can see they're on a 45. That doesn't really matter because look, you have all these little grooves that you can stick the holes in. And those are all options so that they fit different applications. So they're designed to be generic in the sense that you can attach it any kind of way that you want. So I'm going to hand this off to you. And I've got 2 screws here. We'll just do one at a time. What you do want to make sure though is because the light has the horizontal mounting screws, you got to make sure that these stay horizontal. If you turn these, then your light's going to be like cockeyed. So you want those to be horizontal. And you can pick any one of these screws to go in. It looks like the outside one kind of lines up nice. I won't tighten it up yet until I get the other one started, because if you tighten it up and it isn't lined up perfectly, it's not going to go in. So what you do is you just run it in there loose until you get the other one in and get it started. Okay, so now I'm kind of fidgeting with it a little bit to figure out exactly where I want it before I tighten it down. I think that looks okay. It doesn't need to be overly tight, just snug. Okay, that's good. Now something else you want to consider when you're placing this is this wall has ridges on it. And so you don't want to go over the ridges because it just make it hard to get a seal. In fact, these ridges are pretty steep and you wouldn't get a seal at all. So now what you do now is I have the gasket here. You don't need this template here, I guess that's what that is. But this is just so it can seal against the siding. Now we have this eave here, so it can't really rain on it easily unless it's really raining sideways, which it does sometimes. So you just put the gasket on there, and that's going to help, help seal it. Yep, and then your light will go right over that. And the light is inside, so I need to go get it. So these wires here, you just run into the box, into the middle of the box. And then these screws should line up with those holes on the outside. I say should. Gotta find them. Oh, okay, I see. kind of hard to line them up. Okay, I got one side. Here we go. All right. So that's how it should look. And then you get these little caps. And these are white, so they match the outside. You don't see the caps. And hopefully there's enough teeth there for a bite. And it looks like I'll have to get a socket to go on that because my fingers are too fat.
Better put them on a diet.
Yeah. So these are real tiny, so I'm going to go size up a socket so it'll be easier to turn these. Okay, I think we got the right socket here. And I can feel it tightening up there, so. Sometimes it's easier to do without the wrench on these small ones so you can feel it. Okay, I think that's good and tight. Feels good and tight to me. I've already kind of pre-angled these lights, but all they have is a little thumb screw on them. You can see, you can just loosen that up, and then you can adjust these, move them up, down. So I've kind of put them kind of where I wanted them. I have this one going a little more down into this area to light it up, and then this one more over where you're going to be walking in the yard. So they're slightly different on purpose. You can also move them out and in, but they'll be kind of hard to adjust until it's dark. Then you can do some fine tuning and put them right on the path where you're going to walk. So that's all for outside here. I guess you can take this little label off.
Now I don't have to worry about falling in the night.
Yeah, it gets pretty dark out here. And you take that little label off, and that cleans it up a little bit. And I know the other one was kind of a dark brown. The white looks better here because it matches the windows.
Eventually, another long-term project is this little hill to make like some little steps.
Yeah, so we want to make some steps here, and then along here where it's kind of ragged, it's kind of jagged, we want to take some of the dirt away and fill in the gaps and make it straight and put railroad ties in. So we'll do a railroad wall here, maybe about 4 ties high. And that'll make this easier to cut too. So when you cut, you can just cut right along the tie or right on top of the tie and make it flush with the ground. And there won't be all this weed eating to do on this hill, because that's the least fun part.
But that's one of those projects that are a little off in the distance.
Yeah, because there's a lot of things. One, we got to find some ties, and how many are we going to need, and then how are we going to move the dirt. It's a little bit to think about, because there's a lot of rock in this dirt. It's not like sand in Florida. You can just shovel wherever you want.
It's called Rocky Top for a reason.
It's pretty rocky top here, so yeah.
As you're busting away with the sledgehammer, you can sing that tune.
Rocky Top.
Good old Rocky Top.
Yeah. Okay, I just wanted to wrap this up. I've wired this. There's nothing really to show on this. There's only 2 wires. There's a black and a white wire inside the hub here, so I had to fish those out. I wire nutted them. What I did is I cut a pieces of an already cut extension cord, so it's plenty big enough to cover the power to this light. So I pulled it through the tab here, wire nutted them, the black and the white, and then I stuck them back in the hole. There wasn't even a ground wire for the light. There's just a ground wire to the box. So I wasn't too concerned about that. And then I just ran the wire up and over this 2x12 header. And then you can see in the back, I ran it into the back of the box right here. And I pulled this plug down. First I cut power to the box, which the breaker's in the garage. Pulled the cover off, unplugged those two plugs you see there, pulled the plug down and ran the wire through to it. And there was an open screw, so I just put it in behind that screw, black to the black side, white to the white side, and then put it all back together. And everything's working great. Turned the power back on. As you can see, this light wouldn't even be on if it wasn't working. And the black plug is an extension cord I use to feed the front motion light over the Jeep, which it's on right now. So we'll go take a look and make sure everything's working. But all of these are going to the same plug. That light, the light inside, and now this new motion light will come on. You walk out by it and you see you have lots of light in the yard here, lighting up your path. I think I just have it set on 1 minute, or it might still be in test mode where it just comes on for a few seconds. Yeah, it's still in test mode, so I have to push it over to 5 minutes, 20 minutes, I think are the options. But it'll stay, it could work like that. As soon as it picks you up, it comes on. See, it just picked me up. And then it stays on as long as it detects movement. And that's enough to get you from here to there. And then it cuts off. So it makes for a good security light too. Sometimes we get deer that walk out here and they'll trip it. And it might scare the deer. It might not. They might just stand there. But that's it. And you can see how to walk. It cuts itself on and off because I'm moving. And then if I stand still, it'll go out. But it lights up really well. So I'm happy with that. I'll call that another successful DIY. And the light actually looks nice. It matches the window nice. And from the house looking at it, you can, if somebody's out here fumbling around that shouldn't be, it's going to go off. And it's going to scare them off. So it's a good theft deterrent as well. I have motion sensors in here anyway if they break in here. So it's good to go. And we still have use of all the outlets. We got 3 lights on that outlet, but they're all low voltage. And it's a 20 amp line all the way across. You got a plug in the back there and then one here. And these plugs aren't used much. You might be doing a project, you might plug in a saw and cut something, but that's really all you're going to be doing. The only thing that's wired to it constantly are those motion lights. And they cut themselves on and off as needed. So this is a wrap. So another DIY project here at the house. Motion sensor light for the garage area. And we got this room cleaned up too. We got the table picked up. You can see the e-bikes are stored over there. I still have the batteries in the house because lithium batteries don't like cold weather. So I brought them in the house. The bikes are out here, and we still have a lot of stuff to go through here. We still have some eBay items that we brought with us that we hadn't sold yet. But we kind of shut eBay down when we started traveling. So that's kind of the gitmo here. And the light is on here. I think this light stays on for like 10 minutes. And this one will just come on with motion, which I think that's fine. I think that's perfect. That'll work. And then there's that light. Remember that light we hung out in front of the garage? That one's also, that's dusk to dawn, not motion. So this one stays on all night. And that's the intent, to kind of light this front space up. So, and all these lights are covered. They're all under a covering, so they don't get direct sun, they don't get rain, so they should last a long time. They don't get that wear and tear from the elements. Hey, I appreciate you guys being with us, and we're going to call this a wrap on the DIY motion light install. See you next time.